Some people don't know when to stop. They really don't. The author Daniela Jackson is a good example of this. Daniela Jackson, you may ask. Who on earth is that? Well, does the title, Too Weak to Complain, sound familiar to you? It should. It's a fanfic that Daniela wrote a while back. A fanfic that I reviewed on my show. And if that doesn't jog your memory, I think this one will. It's a fanfic about Michael Jackson. Technically more about his family. But still. It has something to do with him. Do you remember now? You should. If you don't remember the exact details of that story, let's just say the premise of the story is Michael is being raped by his father and his siblings while his mother idly watches. Charming, isn't it? I was furious in that review, and I think this story makes that one look charming. This story is called Not His Daughter. It's rated M. It's in English. It's Hurt Comfort Family, and it has 5 reviews. We'll take a look at those reviews after I read this story. So let's begin. She forced herself to get up and look in the mirror. That face that had been hiding so many years was now showing out. Don't you mean was now showing or was now out? Either go with showing or out, not both. No masks and no lies to the rest of the world. Her slender fingers caressed the cold surface. The cold surface being the mirror, I'm assuming? No matter how much attention she paid to her features, her father was nowhere to be found in her. She was pale. She had blue eyes and long hazel hair. Her features were proper of a white girl. Where was her father's family? His dark, cocoa-colored skin, his black features, his lovely black curls. Where were them? Don't you mean where were they? She could tell that neither in her nor her brother, who seemed even whiter, paler, and blonder than her, though he had darker eyes. And that's how the sentence ends. Please don't have incomplete sentences, they're really annoying. No, they were in her half-brother, who looked like a walking portrait of his deceased father. And that was why she stood up violently and pressed the button on her wall frantically. "Do you need me, princess?" a soft voice says after a while, like his father's high-pitched whisper, too, and he used to call her that. "Yes, come over here, Michael." She didn't call him by his nickname anymore. I noticed that they're not using quotations to indicate dialogue. Instead, they're using dashes. She kissed him, devouring his mouth, drowning in his eyes and imagining it's the king who loves her instead of the youngest prince. Her quick fingers undress the body she knows so well, and her hands caress the black, silk-soft hair, lips never parting from Michael's, full of anxiety. Will their elder brother ever find out? And lust. As their bodies melted together, as two generations became one, the very own king's blood and flesh, what do you mean flesh and blood, as he doesn't dare to scream her name, just a slave to satisfy the princess in pure, forbidden fantasy, having to live with the guilt after it all. Don't you mean the princess's impure, forbidden fantasy? And she yells, and suddenly it's all over. He stands up and leaves the princess' rooms. Don't you mean the princess's room? Living as a slave for his half-sister wasn't so bad. After all, it allowed him to blame her for everything happening between them. He looked at himself in the mirror. Joseph had slept with his son. His father broke the family tradition, and now he had to get back lost time by doing with the princess what the king should have done. So you're saying it's a family tradition for the Jacksons to sleep with their children? Every family has that tradition. Not. But, most likely, it would be the heir prince who would keep on the tradition. His daughter grew more and more each day. Okay, judging by that last snippet there, I'm assuming that Michael's kids are supposed to be adults in this story, and that Prince Jackson has a kid. The princess lies on her bed, hurt and wounded by the rage of passion, as she looks up to the sky, trying to find a reason for the curse which boils in her blood, hugging the locket with the king's photograph inside. I love you, Father, and I desire you. I wish so much that I was not your daughter. Let's read the note at the end of this story. Pay attention to it. Okay, this is not true. I don't think this could happen. I pity Paris a real lot. Do not blame me. Don't you mean a lot, not a real lot? This popped into my mind when I saw Paris at the funeral saying he was the best father of the world, comma, and when I saw his videos with them, comma, and I thought, I wish I was his daughter, and how weird it would be to lust my father, comma, and this happened. Behold, that was all one sentence. I understand if you don't like, but please don't flame me. One more thing before we look at the story itself for the critique. Let's take a look at the reviews that the story got. Starting from the bottom up. MJ Believer wrote, "Dark, but I like it." This being a fellow MJ fan. Nicola wrote, "OMG, that was weird." Edwards Bella Forever wrote, "Wow, that was pretty good though. Good job, I liked it." Lovely Strange Witch 2 wrote, "Kinda weird yet cool. It must really be interesting being the daughter of a man like Michael Jackson." Last but not least, XX Princess Tristina 828XX. I think that was pretty hot, hun. Write some more on my angel Paris, K. I have a question to those 5 reviewers. Did you read the same fanfic I read? Did you? Something tells me that you didn't. And if you did read the same fanfic I read, you must not know how to properly give someone a review. Well, let me show you how it's done. Let's first take a look at the technical issues with this story. 1. The layout. Paragraph spacing was decent, although some paragraphs could have been made shorter. But the last 3 paragraphs, which were all one word, was not necessary. They actually should have been part of the last large paragraph, which would be, I love you, Father, and I desire you. I wish so much I was, and that's how that paragraph ends. 2. Misuse of words. Using the word them instead of they. In the sentence, where were them? That doesn't make any sense. Where were them? That doesn't make any sense at all. It should be, where were they? Also, having useless words in the story. Like in the second sentence, that face that had been hidden so many years was now showing out. It should not have the word out or showing in there. It should have just one or the other. Having both of them in there makes no sense. Last but not least, the grammar. Run-on sentences are very annoying. Even though this was part of the author's note, it was still ridiculous. The sentence where it starts off with, this popped into my mind, ... and then ending with, this happened. That was pretty much too, that could have been its own paragraph. That's how long it was. And one of the most annoying things about the grammar, using dashes instead of quotation marks. Quotation marks are not that hard to use. If you want to know where they are right next to your Enter key. You hold down the Shift button to activate them. So, with all the technical issues pointed out, I would say the story is technically bad. Now, let's look at the moral reason about why this fanfic is bad. Daniela Jackson, you do not write fanfics about real people. You do not write fanfics about real people. You want to know why you don't write fanfics about real people? Because it is WRONG! Do I need to make myself more clear about why it's wrong? Well, think about it. Think long and hard. Fanfics are supposed to be about like characters in games, characters in movies, characters in TV shows, in comic books, in cartoons. The list goes on and on. But real people? No. You can write biographies about real people, but when you write biographies about real people, they have to have facts in them. Fanfics are not filled with facts. You're not supposed to write fanfics about real people. And writing about real people could be a technical issue with the story as well, because according to fanfiction.net, it's against the rules to write fanfics about real people. So this fanfic is in violation of that rule. The thing is, if you write a fanfic about a real person, the person in question you're writing about could find the fanfic. That's right. The Jackson family could find your fanfics. And I don't think they would be very happy if they read them. Michael Jackson himself, if he was alive, would not be happy if he read these fanfics. He would be mortified. I think anyone would be. So, Daniela Jackson, it is wrong to write fanfics about real people! Do I make myself clear to you? So, overall, this fanfic is bad. I would recommend that it get hurled off to the sun, burned, and never to see the light of day again. And anyone in their right mind reading this fanfic, if they have an account on fanfiction.net, you should report this fanfic. Why? Because technically it's against the rules. In fact, I think I will report it myself. Well, I'm the FanFic Critic. I read it, you listen.